My younger sister's grades were strange. If I scored 500, she scored 510. If I pushed up to 600, she immediately became 610. Her score was always exactly 10 points higher than mine. But the moment I took leave and missed an exam, my sister's grades dropped instantly. That confirmed my suspicion. Lin Xiao's grades were tied to mine. Using that as the basis, a wild thought flashed through my mind. If I scored above 740 on the college entrance exam, would my sister completely crash on the spot? On the eve of the exam, I worked like an endlessly driven beast of burden, while my sister spent every day eating, drinking, and having fun, with me as her support. She became outrageously arrogant. She even abandoned her studies to fool around with bad company. Every time she got caught, she looked impatient. Are you all done yet? Relax, the top scorer in the entrance exam will definitely be me. And I never let down her confidence. In every mock exam, I steadily carried her to first place in the grade. I wanted her to stay high on that false cloud of glory. Meanwhile, I secretly moved step by step towards 741 points. The second semester of senior year felt like a dull blade, scraping at my nerves again and again. I got up before dawn every day and went to sleep at midnight. Except for eating and bathroom breaks, I spent all my time drilling questions. I locked myself inside that tiny room that barely ever saw sunlight, like a machine that never stopped. My sister's room was right next door. From time to time, I heard her talking with friends, or laughing loudly while binge-watching shows. Sometimes she deliberately turned the volume way up, as if showing off to me that she could do whatever she wanted. I did not care at all. I had already learned to block out every noise. There was only one voice in my head, 741 points. That number felt like a nail lodged in my heart. Whenever I wanted to give up, I pressed it down hard. The sting kept me clear-headed. In March, Lin Xiao started coming in and out of my room often. At first, I paid no attention, thinking she was just looking for something. Later, I realized something was off. The way she looked at me had changed, with scrutiny and suspicion in her eyes. One time, I was working on the hardest math problem, when she stood behind me, staring at my scratch paper for a long time. Bro, why have you been studying so hard lately? I did not look up, and my hand never stopped moving. Not bad, the exam is coming up. How could I not work hard? Lin Xiao leaned in closer, trying to see what I was writing. But before, you never pushed yourself this much. My heart skipped a beat, but my face stayed calm. I deliberately sighed, putting on a tired look. Because I figured. Mom and Dad said they would cut off my allowance if I could not get into a top university. Lin Xiao's expression relaxed. A hint of mockery even appeared on her lips. You, a top university. Then she turned and left. Before going, she added one more jab. Do not wear yourself out. Either way, I will be the one getting all the glory in the end. I watched her back without saying a word. Only after the door closed did I pick up my pen again. The corner of my mouth lifted slightly. Good, keep underestimating me. The more you look down on me, the safer I am. But Lin Xiao's caution never fully disappeared. In the days that followed, she started probing my study progress openly and secretly. She asked which subject was hardest for me and how many points I could get on the mock exams. Sometimes, she even said discouraging things in front of me on purpose, trying to shake my mindset. I handled every move she made. In each mock exam, I deliberately controlled my score, never letting myself look too outstanding. I stayed within the top 5 of the grade, high enough to seem normal, but not enough to raise her suspicions. My real trump cards stayed hidden in my heart. The toughest reminders, the trickiest techniques. I practiced them alone late at night. Once I finished, I tore up the scratch paper and flushed it away, leaving no trace behind. One evening, I was working through competition-level problems when I suddenly heard movement in the living room. It was my mother talking with Lin Xiao. I quietly opened my door a crack and listened in. Has your brother been acting a little strange lately? I see him locking himself in his room every day, and he barely even comes out to eat. Lin Xiao laughed it off. Mom, what are you worried about? No matter how hard he tries, how far can he really get? Whatever score he gets, I can always score 10 points higher. The harder he works, the higher my score gets too, right? Exactly. My daughter is the smart one. Then let him keep studying. He is basically working for you anyway. As I listened to them, I clenched my fists tightly, my nails dug into my palms, but on the surface I stayed calm. I gently shut the door and went back to my questions. One night in April, I was studying in my room as usual, when I suddenly heard a faint sound outside the door. I perked up and listened carefully. It was footsteps, soft enough to show someone was afraid of being noticed. Then came the sound of the doorknob turning. Very slowly, I instantly understood. Lin Xiao was spying on me. I did not turn around. I kept pretending to focus on my work, but in reality, I had already swapped the paper in my hand for a sheet of ordinary basic problems. The truly difficult materials had long been locked away. Deep inside my drawer, the door opened into a narrow crack. From the corner of my eye, I caught half of Lin Xiao's face. She was looking at the things on my desk. I deliberately sighed, muttering to myself, "Why did I get this one wrong again? This is too hard." The crack in the door quietly closed. The footsteps slowly faded away. I sat upright and gave a cold laugh. "Lin Xiao, the more you guard against me, the more it proves you feel guilty. You know better than anyone that those scores are not yours. You are just a leech. Without me, you are nothing." At the final mock exam in late May, I scored 690. Lin Xiao scored 700, ranking first in the grade. The day the results came out, she celebrated wildly at home. My parents fussed over her, praising her for bringing honor to the family. The dining table was filled with all her favorite dishes. I sat quietly in the corner, eating my meal, like I was invisible. My father put down his chopsticks, looking at Lin Xiao with pride. "Xiao, you did well this time. Keep it up, and the entrance exam is in the bag. My daughter really is smart. Just look whose daughter she is." Lin Xiao looked at me smugly, a mocking smile tugging at her lips. "Bro, you need to work harder. Do not fall too far behind me. Otherwise, Mom and Dad will lose face." I gave a quiet response and did not argue. Then I kept eating, but inside I laughed coldly. "Enjoy it while you can. This is your last moment in the spotlight." That night, I lay in bed tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Again and again, I ran through everything that might happen during those 2 exam days. In June, the college entrance exam arrived right on time. On the night of June 6, Lin Xiao went out drinking with friends, saying it was an early celebration. My mother did not stop her, and even stuffed a wad of cash into her hand, saying her daughter had worked hard and deserved to relax. I watched the scene through the crack of my bedroom door. There was not the slightest ripple in my heart. I only found it ironic. As for me, I went to bed at 8 that night. I set my alarm for 6 the next morning. Lying in bed, I was unusually calm, like a swordsman waiting to draw his blade. All my endurance would be rewarded tomorrow. The next morning, I woke up right on time. After eating a simple breakfast, I headed out. My mother took Lin Xiao to the testing site. To me, she only gave a perfunctory, "Do your best." I nodded and said nothing more. In my heart, I thought, this is the last time anyway. After this, we will stay out of each other's lives. The exam site was in the school's old teaching building. I was assigned a seat by the window on the 3rd floor. Sunlight streamed in at just the right angle. I sat down and arranged my supplies one by one. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. In my heart, I repeated, "I have waited 18 years for this day. Do not lose." The Chinese exam bell rang. The moment I opened the paper, my mind was clearer than ever. Every question felt as familiar as an old friend. Every trap in the reading section I had already anticipated. The essay prompt was exactly the kind I practiced countless times. I wrote as if inspiration itself were guiding my pen. After finishing Chinese, I walked out of the exam room. Lin Xiao rushed over at once and blocked my way. She had carefully done makeup on, but there was a trace of panic in her eyes that was hard to hide. She asked how I did. I said not bad. Lin Xiao frowned and pressed me. "How not bad? How many multiple-choice questions did you miss?" I looked at her and suddenly found it a little funny. She was trying to confirm my score, so she could estimate her own. "I do not know. I did not check the answers." Lin Xiao curled her lip, clearly unsatisfied with that reply. But she did not keep asking. She turned and left. I watched her back and thought, "Why are you in such a hurry? The results will be out tomorrow anyway. Then you will really have something to worry about." Halfway through the math exam that afternoon, something unexpected happened. My stomach suddenly cramped badly. Maybe something I ate that morning was not clean. Or maybe the pressure had become too much. Cold sweat broke out all at once. I stayed hunched over the desk for several seconds before I recovered. The proctor came over and asked quietly, "Student, are you okay? Do you need to go to the nurse's office?" I shook my head and gritted out, "I'm fine." What kind of joke was that? I had waited 18 years for this one exam. Even if I collapsed, I would finish this paper first. I pinched my thigh hard. The sharp sting briefly distracted me from the pain in my stomach. Then I kept going. For a moment, the numbers and formulas blurred before my eyes, but I forced myself forward on pure muscle memory and finished every single question. For the final hardest problem, I checked it using 3 different methods. Only after confirming it was correct did I put down my pen. When I walked out of the exam room, I was nearly drained of all strength. I found a quiet corner with no one around and crouched there for a long while to recover. Lin Tian messaged me to ask how math went. I replied with 2 words, normal. She instantly sent back a smug emoji. She clearly thought she had it in the bag again. Looking at that emoji, I only found it laughable. Fearless ignorance, that was exactly her. The next day came comprehensive science and English. My condition had mostly recovered. These 2 subjects were my strengths, especially the major physics problems. The chemistry deduction questions and the biology genetics problems, all were types I had practiced countless times. I worked through them smoothly from start to finish. In the end, I still had 20 minutes left to review. I checked every question twice, making sure there would not be a single mistake. As for English, there was even less to worry about. It would be hard for the graders not to give me a high score. After the final exam ended and I walked out, I stood at the entrance of the teaching building and looked up at the sky. The sunlight was harsh, but I did not look away. I just stood there straight, letting it fall across my face. After 18 years, I had finally made it through. Lin Tian was the first to rush over and stop me. She was dressed especially brightly that day. Like a proud peacock, greed flashed in her eyes as she asked, "How did you do?" "Great, better than ever." I have never done this well in my life. Lin Tian's eyes lit up at once, as if she had just seen mountains of gold. She turned and ran off to claim credit from Mom and Dad. "Mom, Dad, my brother said he did especially well, so I must have done even better." Watching her skipping away in delight, I smiled too. It was the smile of a hunter watching the prey step into the trap. Lin Tian, "Do you know what you look like right now? Like a moth flying straight toward a flame, still thinking it is the sun." After the exam ended during summer break, Lin Tian completely let herself go. She patted her chest and promised our parents she would become the provincial top scorer, then took a huge advance on her allowance. Not only did she replace her phone and computer with top-tier models, she also took the money our parents had worked hard to save and burned through it on a trip with a bunch of bad friends. Her social feed updated every day. All food, drinks, and fun. She had no idea how badly things could turn out. One evening, I saw a post she had shared. It was a photo of her dining at an upscale restaurant, with the caption, "Future top scorer celebrating in advance." Below it was a flood of likes and comments. Looking at those comments, I only found them absurd. Meanwhile, I wanted to go back to the countryside to visit Grandpa. I asked my parents for travel money, but before I could even finish, my mother shut me down. She did not even lift her eyelids. Her tone dismissive, "Go for what? There is no money at home. Can you not see Tian needs money?" I looked at her self-righteous face and felt a wave of disgust. With me, they would not spend a cent. With Lin Tian, they threw money around like water. These were my parents. My father sat on the couch watching TV and added without even turning around, "If you want to go, figure it out yourself. Do not expect anything from this family." I said nothing more. Then I turned and went back to my room. Early the next morning, I went out and found work hauling bricks at a construction site. The sun was brutally scorching. It made me dizzy, but I gritted my teeth and worked for half a month before I finally saved enough for travel fare and gifts for Grandpa. Those 2 weeks were among the hardest days of my life. By the end of them, I had saved a little over 1,000 yuan, enough for the round-trip fare and some health supplements for Grandpa. The day scores were released happened to be Lin Tian's 18th birthday. To stand in front of everyone and crown herself with the brightest moment of her life, she held an extremely lavish banquet. Every aunt, uncle, and distant relative, along with my parents' co-workers and supervisors, had been invited. The banquet hall was filled with non-stop flattery. A distant relative raised a glass and moved close to my father, grinning from ear to ear. "Old Lin, your family is truly blessed. Both of your children are so outstanding." Another relative quickly chimed in, with a hint of sharpness in her tone. Your older son only knows how to bury his head in books. He is not sensible. Xiao is the thoughtful one. She has good grades and knows how to handle herself. She is 100 times better than her brother. The younger crowd surrounded Lin Xiao as if she were the moon among stars. One younger female cousin looked so envious her eyes nearly turned red. Sister Xiao, you are amazing. With a Tsinghua or Peking University acceptance letter in one hand and a handsome boyfriend on your arm, you are living the dream. Hurry up and check the score. We want to witness the historic birth of the top scorer. Do not rush. If she ranks among the top few in the province, the top universities will call ahead to recruit her. The moment those words fell, the phone really did ring. But it was not for her. It was for me, under everyone's stunned gaze. I answered one call after another. The Tsinghua admissions team, the Peking University admissions office, and admissions teachers from several other top universities. I thanked them politely and said I would think it over carefully. Lin Xiao's eyes nearly popped out of her head. She stared hard at her silent phone. Trying to save face, she forced out through clenched teeth, the best one. Always appears last. At last, the score-checking portal opened. Everyone swarmed around, urging Lin Xiao to log in. I also quietly opened the results page in the corner. Even though I was confident, when the moment of checking scores truly came, my palms still grew slightly damp. My mother turned to ask me first, in a casual tone, how many points I got. I showed everyone my phone screen and said calmly, I scored 741. The whole room erupted in shock. I forced down the storm-like joy surging in my chest and kept my face expressionless. I did it. I really did it. My mother froze for a moment, then gave a stingy nod. Without even taking a proper second look, she immediately turned and rushed toward Lin Xiao. Her voice trembled with excitement. Hurry. Xiao must be even higher. Lin Xiao was surrounded so tightly. There was nowhere for her to hide. With trembling fingers, she hit confirm. The next second, her face stiffened. Her expression was priceless, like she had swallowed a fly. On the screen, 3 bright red numbers stood out. 751. Even Lin Xiao's voice was shaking. In the stunned silence around us, one distant relative, who had no idea what was going on, was still praising blindly. Oh my, 751 points. That is 10 points higher than her brother. Xiao really is a genius. If I remember correctly, isn't the maximum exam score only 750? The atmosphere froze instantly. Lin Xiao panicked. Cold sweat ran through her carefully done makeup in streaks. It must be a system glitch. Too many people are checking scores and it crashed. She refreshed the page like she had lost control, her finger nearly jabbing through the screen. Once, twice, 3 times, that cursed 751 stayed nailed in the total score field. Someone suggested trying another phone. Lin Xiao clutched at that idea like a lifeline and snatched someone else's phone. The result was still 751. That extra point felt like a giant slap across her face. Just then, the banquet hall doors were pushed open. Several uniformed officers and education bureau staff walked in with serious expressions. The lead staff member looked around and asked in a deep voice, who is Lin Xiao? The examination authority detected an extremely abnormal score. It is suspected to involve malicious system tampering and major exam misconduct. Please come with us for an investigation. Lin Xiao was so frightened her legs went weak. She collapsed directly onto the floor. Her face turned ghostly pale. When my parents saw the situation, they also panicked. But their first reaction was not to comfort their daughter. Instead, they instinctively looked for a scapegoat. In the chaos, my mother actually shoved me forward, pointed at me and shouted at the top of her lungs, he did it. He must have been jealous of his sister and broken into the system, then changed the score by mistake. Officers, investigate him. This has nothing to do with my daughter. Here we go again. These were my parents. At the critical moment, they did not hesitate to use me as a shield, even if the excuse was absurd, even if the logic made no sense at all, as long as they could protect their precious daughter. What did sacrificing me matter? My heart went completely cold. At that moment, I felt unbelievably light. I shook off my mother's hand and looked coldly at this group of clowns. I am not a hacker. I am Lin Feng, the provincial science top scorer. Lin Xiao is over there. The one who produced the human miracle of 751 points is her. My father flew into a rage and rushed over as if to hit me. I grabbed his wrist in one motion. The look in my eyes startled him. Try laying a hand on me. The people in charge are right behind me. Now, both Tsinghua and Peking University are fighting to recruit me, and the media is rushing to report on me. Go ahead and try. From this moment on, no one in this family can control me anymore, and no one can bully me anymore. This coming-of-age banquet, originally meant for showing off, completely turned into a farce. Lin Xiaoxiao was taken away to cooperate with the investigation, leaving chaos behind. There was no way to cover this up. A 751 on the national exam exploded across social media. It shot to the top of trending searches that very night. The entire internet gathered to watch and mock the spectacle. Some said greed makes people overreach. This looked like someone got too carried away buying points. Others said if you are going to cheat, at least use your brain. The maximum is 750, and you scored 751. Are you insulting the graders or the system? Some people dug up Lin Xiaoxiao's social media accounts and found that she had spent the past half year eating, drinking, and having fun everywhere. She had barely studied at all. Public opinion turned overwhelmingly against Lin Xiaoxiao. Everyone believed she had used connections to alter her score, then slipped and changed it too high. As I scrolled through those comments, I felt a satisfaction I could not describe. 18 years. I had waited 18 years for this moment. At last, everyone could see the truth. The investigation results came out quickly. On Lin Xiaoxiao's answer sheet, one multiple-choice item was somehow scanned as 1 point more than everyone else's. That caused the total score to appear as it did, although there was no direct evidence proving that she had altered the answer sheet. For the sake of fairness, the Education Bureau decided to activate a backup exam paper and have her retake the test alone. When the news reached home, Lin Xiaoxiao was lying on the couch, scrolling through her phone. The moment she heard she had to retake the exam, she sprang up. Her face turned pale in an instant. What do you mean, retake it? Why should I have to retake it? My score was real. The system was the problem. My father sat nearby, his face dark with anger. He scolded her in a low voice, but even the neighbors could probably hear him. My mother paced anxiously in circles, comforting Lin Xiaoxiao while discussing what to do. Xiaoxiao, do not panic. If you have to retake it, then retake it. You are so smart. You will definitely be fine. But Lin Xiaoxiao looked as if she had lost her mind. She threw a tantrum all over the house, crying and shouting, insisting that I take the exam with her. If I have to sit it again, then he does too. I want him seated beside me. She rushed over and grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Her eyes were terrifyingly red. Tomorrow you must take it with me. Did you hear me? I shook off her hand. My tone was ice cold. I already finished my exam. Why should I accompany you for a retake? Lin Xiaoxiao froze. Her eyes were filled with disbelief, as if it had never occurred to her that I would refuse. My mother immediately rushed over to take her side. What kind of attitude is that? Your sister is already in this state. Can you not help her? Xiao Ocean, this concerns the face of our whole family. What is the big deal if you sit through one retake with Xiaoxiao? I looked at them and found it both laughable and pathetic. What do you mean, the face of the whole family? That is Lin Xiaoxiao's reputation. It has never had anything to do with me. I refused on the spot, turned around and went back to my room. Then I locked the door. No matter how they knocked and cursed outside, I would not open it. Naturally, this unreasonable request was also rejected by the Education Bureau. In the end, under full supervision, Lin Xiaoxiao retook the exam all alone. The testing room was set up in a meeting room at the City Education Bureau. Surveillance cameras ran around the clock, and 3 proctors watched her the entire time. They were afraid she might cause more trouble. As expected, the result was a complete disaster. Her retake total was 157. It was not even as high as what she could usually get by random guessing. She had only ever been around a 300-point student to begin with. Over the past half year, she had cared only about dating, dreaming of being number 1. And she had not even opened a book. On the day those retake results came out, I was hauling bricks at the construction site. I received a message from a classmate saying Lin Xiaoxiao had scored 157 on her retake. I froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. One of the workers thought I had heat stroke and handed me water. I waved him off and said I was fine. I was just too happy. That retake tore away the last bit of cover she had. First came 751. Then came 157. The massive contrast sent public opinion into an uproar. The online comments were more entertaining than the last. Some said 157. Now that looks like the real level. Others said this settles it. The earlier 751 had to be cheating. Lin Xiao could not handle the online backlash and tried to post her report cards from before senior year as proof. Instead, resourceful netizens dug through everything. Her bizarre leap during the final half year of senior year stood out against her old 300-point scores that had never gone anywhere. That only made everyone more certain that she had been cheating since senior year began. Along the way, netizens also dug up my report cards. From elementary school through high school, every major exam result was uncovered. I had stayed steadily within the top 3 since childhood. Now that was a true academic ace, stable as a rock. Someone commented, "Are they really biological siblings? How can the gap be this huge?" Someone else said, "One is the top scorer in the college entrance exam, while the other can barely pass." As I read those comments, my feelings were mixed. I once thought that good grades would earn my parents' approval. Later I realized that no matter how high I scored, in their eyes, I would never compare to Lin Xiao, because what they needed was not an outstanding son, but a tool to support their daughter. The teachers and classmates who once praised Lin Xiao now looked at her like trouble itself. Even my parents were pointed at whenever they went out. Neighbors whispered behind their backs, saying the Lin family's daughter turned out to be useless, that she had fooled everyone for years through cheating. What a disgrace. During that time, Lin Xiao hid in her room and did not dare see anyone. Like a rat avoiding the street, she kept the curtains tightly shut. Even meals had to be left outside her door by my mother. She refused to meet anyone. Meanwhile, with my acceptance letter from the Tsinghua Peking medical track, I packed my bags and returned to my hometown to stay with Grandpa. As long as I waited until school started at the end of August, I would be completely free. At least that was what I thought. Summer in the countryside was as hot as a steamer, but my heart felt at peace. Grandpa's old house stood at the foot of a mountain. There were 3 earthen rooms, and an old locust tree stood by the door. The cicadas chirped noisily, yet somehow it did not feel annoying. This was my real home. From as far back as I could remember, I had been left here. My parents claimed the countryside air was better and good for my health. In truth, they simply found me in the way. They wanted Lin Xiao to enjoy all the love and resources alone. With one more child around, there would be one more competitor. Grandpa never badmouthed my parents to me. He simply cared for me in silence. He taught me to read and study, and told me that a person must rely on themselves. The sentence he said most often was, "Education is the only path out for a poor family's child." I carved those words into my bones. I stayed in the old house for more than 20 days. Every morning, I got up early to help Grandpa feed the chickens. In the mornings, I read in the courtyard. In the afternoons, I walked with him through the fields. At night, we sat under the locust tree to cool off. He told me stories from the past, about how mischievous my father had been as a child, and how hardworking my mother was when she first married into the family. I listened to those unfamiliar memories, as if they were stories about someone else's home, because in my own memory, my parents had never been like that. One evening, we were sitting in the courtyard, enjoying the cool air. The moonlight was bright. Grandpa suddenly asked how I did on the entrance exam. I thought for a moment, then answered honestly, "I think I did pretty well." Grandpa nodded. There was light in his clouded eyes. He looked up at the moon in the sky, fell silent for a while, then said, "Good is good. Good is good." He let out a sigh. His voice was a little hoarse. "Grandpa has never amounted to much in this life, so I am counting on you." I lowered my head. My nose stung. From childhood until now, only he had ever said something like that to me. Only he truly hoped I would do well. "Grandpa, once I graduate and start working, I will bring you to live in the city." He waved his hand. He smiled like a child. "I am not used to city life. Having that thought is enough." That night, I lay on the old earthen bed in Grandpa's house, listening to the insects outside the window. I thought that once the results settled everything, it would all be over. I would show everyone that I, Lin Tian, was not a worthless person anyone could push around, and not anyone's stepping stone. August 12, there was still more than half a month before school started. I was helping Grandpa dry corn in the courtyard, pouring one basket of golden corn cobs after another onto bamboo mats and spreading them flat. Then the phone in my pocket suddenly rang. It was my mother's number. I froze for a second. She almost never contacted me on her own. The last time she called was before the entrance exam, asking how many points I thought I could get, her tone full of scrutiny and calculation. I answered the phone. Crying came through the receiver. My mother's voice was hoarse and hurried. "Come back quickly. Your father had a sudden illness. He may not make it." My heart jolted hard. The winnowing basket in my hand nearly fell to the ground. I asked what happened and which hospital he was in. My mother just kept crying. She would not answer my questions. She only repeated, "Come back, come back." Then she hung up. I stood there where I was, my mind turning into a mess. Grandpa came out of the house and saw my expression. He asked what had happened. I explained the situation, and his face changed too. He urged me to pack up and go back quickly. "No matter what, that is your father. You should go see him." I nodded. Went inside and hastily stuffed a few clothes into my backpack. Before I left, Grandpa hurried after me and pressed a cloth bundle into my hand. It felt heavy. He said, "Take this. This is Grandpa's emergency savings." I opened it and looked. Inside was a stack of wrinkled bills, adding up to a little over 2,000 yuan. That was the retirement money he had saved little by little from selling eggs and vegetables. I wanted to push it back, but he had already turned and gone inside. Grandpa's back looked especially thin in the doorway. I gripped that cloth bundle, my eyes burning hot. From the village to the county town took 2 hours by shuttle bus. From the county town to the city took 3 hours by train. Then I still had to transfer to high-speed rail. All told, the trip would take nearly 10 hours. I bought the earliest available ticket, sitting on the bumpy coach. The scenery outside rushed backward. But my mind gradually calmed down. Something was wrong. Too many things were wrong. My mother's crying sounded too exaggerated enough to feel like an act, and she never said what illness my father had, never said which hospital he was in, and never explained the actual condition. She only kept urging me to come back. If he were truly critically ill, she should have said, "Your father is at such and such hospital. Hurry here, not come back quickly." Come back where home? If someone was being treated urgently at a hospital, how would she have time to call me from home? And there was also her tone, carrying an urgency I could not quite explain. That urgency did not sound like worry for her husband. It sounded more like fear that I would not come back. The more I thought, the stranger it seemed. I called my father's phone. The line was busy. I called again, still busy. So I changed my approach. I called one of my father's co-workers. He was an uncle I had met a few times before. I politely asked whether my father had run into some kind of trouble. The other man's tone turned surprised. "Huh, your dad treated everyone to dinner just last week. He is doing perfectly fine. What happened? Nothing. Maybe I heard wrong." I made up a casual excuse and hung up. So they really were lying to me. I leaned back in my seat, staring at the rolling mountains outside the window. The stone in my heart finally dropped. It was not that I was cold-blooded. I simply knew this family too well. If my father were truly in critical condition, Lin Tian would already be crying all over the internet, playing victim to win sympathy. There was no way things would be this quiet, since it was a trap. What exactly did they want by tricking me back? I spent several hours thinking it through. The answer slowly became obvious. Lin Xiao's scandal had become too big. That 751-point joke was still hanging on the trending list. Even if she repeated senior year, she would not get into it. Because without me, she was nothing. Meanwhile, I was about to go to a top university and begin a new life, completely escaping this swamp. They would never allow that to happen. In their eyes, my only value was to serve as Lin Xiao's stepping stone, her tool, her safety net. Once I understood that, I stopped panicking. I even felt the calm of a hunter waiting after setting the trap. But this time, the hunter and prey were about to switch places. Since you all want to put on a show, then I will act it out with you to the very end. But I will be the one writing the final script. On the train, I used the money Grandpa gave me to buy a cheap backup phone. I also bought a power bank, charged both phones completely, and downloaded a recording app that automatically uploaded footage to the cloud. I tested it 3 times to make sure nothing could go wrong. I also messaged several future roommates I had met in the freshman university group chat, briefly explaining the situation. I told them that if they could not reach me for more than 48 hours, they should call the police for me. I also shared my live location with them. Better safe than sorry. Damn, bro. Your family is really that complicated. Do not worry, you have us. Go handle it. If anything happens, we will call the police immediately. Stay safe. Keep in touch at all times. Looking at those messages, a warmth rose in my chest. People I had never even met were willing to help me, while the people called my closest family were trying to shove me into a pit. This world was truly ironic. By the time I arrived home, it was already the next evening. The sunset stained the old apartment building a dim yellow. Dragging my suitcase, I stood downstairs and looked up at the place where I had lived for 12 years, yet never felt any sense of belonging. I took a deep breath, went upstairs and knocked. The door opened, and my mother's face appeared. Her eyes were red, as if she had just cried. When she saw me, she froze for a second, then immediately piled on a flattering smile. "Oh, Zaya Ocean, you are finally back. Come in, come in." Her enthusiasm was so unnatural that goosebumps rose all over me. Growing up, when had she ever treated me this warmly? I walked inside without showing anything. My eyes quickly swept across the living room. My father was sitting on the couch watching TV, still holding the remote in his hand. He looked perfectly healthy. Where was even the slightest sign of a critical illness? I stood in the entryway, my hand still gripping the handle of my suitcase. In a calm voice, I asked, "Did you not say father was sick? Why is he sitting at home watching TV?" The air in the living room froze for an instant. My father looked up and glanced at me, his expression a little unnatural. The smile on my mother's face stiffened. Then she hurried to patch things over. "It was just a false alarm. Your dad felt unwell yesterday, but later we went to the hospital and they said it was nothing serious. We thought that since you are about to leave for a top university, we wanted you to come back and spend some time together. As a family." Those words "family" coming from her mouth sounded especially ironic. I did not expose her. I only nodded, gave a brief response, and went inside. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Lin. Xiao curled up at the other end of the sofa. Her hair was messy, her complexion sallow, and two dark shadows sat beneath her eyes. Compared with the proud, radiant favorite child she had been a few months earlier, she seemed like a completely different person. When she saw me come in, she lifted her head. Her gaze was complicated, filled with resentment and fear, and a little something else I could not read. I pretended not to notice. I headed straight back to my room to put away my luggage. My room was at the very end of the hallway. It was barely over 10 square meters and almost never saw sunlight. When I was little, it had been a storage room. Only after I returned from Grandpa's home to attend school was it reluctantly cleared out for me to live in. Lin Xiao's room faced south. It was the large, bright master bedroom. The way this household divided its resources had always been that clearly unequal. I closed the door and began checking the room. The desk, the bookshelves, the wardrobe beneath the bed. I inspected them one by one. I made sure nothing had been tampered with. Then I took the backup phone out of my backpack, found a hidden angle, and tucked it into a pile of clutter on the bookshelf. The camera was aimed perfectly at the door. I turned on recording and switched it to silent mode, making sure there would be no alert sounds while it recorded. After all that, I lay on the bed pretending to nap, but my ears stayed alert, catching every faint movement from the living room. For dinner, my mother made a whole table of dishes. For once, she actually called me out to eat, and even put food into my bowl. "Zaya Ocean, you have gotten thinner. You are about to leave home. Eat more." I ate without tasting any of it. My mind was busy analyzing what they were really planning, and when they would finally bear their fangs. After dinner, my father coughed once, and cleared his throat, as though he was about to begin the real lecture. "Zaya Ocean, the reason we asked you to come back this time is that there is actually something we want to discuss with you." I looked up, wearing just the right amount of confusion on my face. "It is like this. Your sister has not been doing well lately. You know that the college entrance exam incident hit her very hard. She is severely depressed now. She does not even want to leave her room. Your mother and I talked it over. You are her biological older brother, and also the person closest to her. Could you spend more time with her and talk her through it?" So that was it. I had been waiting for their true purpose to show. Sure enough, my mother picked up the thread. There was a probing note in her tone. "Exactly, Zaya Ocean. You two are twins. You are family bound by blood. Even if the bones break, the tendons still connect. What is wrong with helping your sister?" I still did not answer. I only looked at them. The atmosphere stayed tense for a moment. Lin Xiao suddenly lifted her head. With reddened eyes, she looked at me. Her voice carried a sob. "Bro, I know I was wrong, okay? I have thought it through during this time. I was the one at fault before. I should not have treated you that way. Can you give me one more chance?" I almost laughed out loud. Her acting had improved. Too bad I was not buying it. I asked them directly what they wanted me to do. I tore away the last layer of pretense. I had no patience to dance around with them. My father and mother exchanged a look. As if confirming something, my father finally laid his cards on the table. "It is like this. We came up with a way for Xiao to still have a future in school. I raised an eyebrow, signaling him to continue. Xiao told us about that score situation from the entrance exam, that pattern of being 10 points higher. You should understand it better than we do. There is a very special connection between the two of you. As long as you are there, she can score highly. My heart jolted. She had actually told them that secret. My father stood up and walked over to me. His tone carried a faint edge that allowed no disagreement. So your mother and I discussed it. Could you delay going to a top university by 1 year? Repeat senior year. And take the entrance exam again with Xiao next year. That way she can also get into a good university. Our family would produce 2 top university students. Would that not bring honor to the whole family? I froze. Not because I was shocked by how absurd the request was, but because I was stunned by how self-righteous they sounded while making it, as if it were only natural for me to sacrifice my future to fulfill Lin Xiao, as if that were simply what I should do. My mother seized the chance and came over to hold my hand. Calculation flickered in her eyes. Xiao, this is not bad for you either. You are so smart. You can definitely get in again next year. By then, with the fame of being the top scorer, and another year of effort, the top universities will be fighting to recruit you again. And Xiao will have a good future too. Is that not a happy ending for everyone? I already have my admission notice. Why should I repeat the year? My father waved his hand dismissively. What is an admission notice worth? If you do not report to school, that thing becomes invalid on its own. Xiao, you are the older brother. What is wrong with giving your younger sister a little? Once Xiao becomes successful, she will not forget you. A share of what she earns will be yours too. I had just heard the funniest joke in the world. I said, I do not agree. My father's face darkened. My mother's expression stiffened too. Lin Xiao suddenly raised her head. The pleading in her eyes instantly turned into resentment. My father stood up, looked down at me from above, and spoke with a threatening edge. What kind of attitude is that today? We are discussing this with you properly. How can you reject it outright? You want me to give up a top university for someone who can score only 157 on the entrance exam to repeat senior year, then use my scores to send her into a prestigious university. Why? Because she is your sister. You are the older brother. Helping your sister is only natural. I have helped her for 18 years. From childhood until now, you gave every resource to her and left me in the countryside without a thought. Now that she ruined herself, you suddenly remember I exist. You want me to sacrifice my future to clean up her mess. My father slammed the table. Lin Tian, what is that attitude? What attitude? This is exactly my attitude. I am not doing it. I turned and walked toward my room. Behind me came Lin Xiao's hysterical scream. Lin Tian, what gives you the right? That status was supposed to be mine in the first place. No one asked what you think you are. Lin Xiao, listen carefully. Every one of those points was written out by my own hand, and has nothing to do with you. The fact that you could siphon off my scores was your luck, not your ability. And it is definitely not a bargaining chip for you to claim what is mine. Lin Xiao was choked speechless by my words. Tears burst from her eyes. I could not tell whether it was from anger or panic. My mother rushed over and stood in front of her, pointing at me as she scolded. Lin Tian, you upset your sister this badly. Do you have no conscience at all? I could not be bothered to argue with them anymore. I went into my room and locked the door behind me. Outside came the sound of things being slammed around, along with my father's furious shouting, my mother's tearful complaints, and Lin Xiao's shrill crying mixed in. It sounded like a pot boiling over. I leaned back against the door, closed my eyes, and listened to all that noise. Yet my heart was strangely calm. Tonight was only the first round. The real contest was still ahead. I had a feeling they would not give up so easily. Fine, bring it on. I had patience to spare. That night I did not sleep. My eyes stayed fixed on the ceiling, and my ears remained alert. A little after 2 in the morning, I heard faint rustling sounds outside the door, as if someone was whispering. I held my breath and listened carefully. It was my father and mother. My mother's voice was very low, but I still heard every word. "Old Lin, why do we not take his things while he is asleep? Without his ID card and admission notice, let us see how he leaves. Look, the light in his room is off. He must be asleep. Let us do it tonight. Better not let this drag on any longer." Footsteps approached the door. My heartbeat sped up, but my body stayed perfectly still. I pretended to be sound asleep. The doorknob turned gently once. I was glad I had locked the door. Outside came my mother's low curse. "This brat even locked the door. Forget it, we will talk tomorrow. He cannot run away anyway." The footsteps gradually faded. I opened my eyes, staring at the dark ceiling. I sneered inwardly, exactly as I expected. They had never intended to let me leave. From the moment I stepped through this doorway, I had fallen into their trap. But what they did not know was that I had prepared long ago. In this game, it was still unclear who would win and who would lose. The next morning, I tentatively turned the doorknob. The door had been locked from the outside. My heart sank. I walked to the window and looked out. Outside the window was a security grill, welded firmly in place. There was no way out. My phone still had signal, but the Wi-Fi had been cut off. Using mobile data, I messaged my roommates to say I was safe. I told them I was okay for the moment, but the situation was not good, and asked them to stay ready. Around 10 in the morning, the door opened. My mother came in carrying a bowl of porridge. Her smile did not reach her eyes. "Hungry? Have something to eat. Have you thought it through?" I did not take the bowl. She set the porridge on the table and sighed. There was a faint threat in her tone. "Zaya Ocean. Mom is giving you some advice. A wise person knows when to bend. So what if you got into a top university? Who is going to pay your tuition and living expenses? Do you think we will give you even a cent? When the time comes, you will not even be able to afford school. You will still come crawling back obediently. As for that admission notice of yours, who knows whether it will even remain in your hands? If you behave and listen, and repeat senior year for 1 year, next year we will support you with everything we have. If you refuse to listen..." She did not finish the sentence, but the meaning was already obvious. I still said nothing. Only after she left did I realize the door had been locked again. From that moment on, I was officially kept under house arrest. On the first day, I could still stay calm. By the second day, I began to grow restless, not because I was afraid, but because time was slipping away little by little. The start of school was drawing closer and closer. I had to find a way out. On the third day, I decided to take a risk. At 2 in the morning, everyone was asleep. I quietly got out of bed and used the file section of a nail clipper to pry at the lock. This old-fashioned spring lock was not hard to open. It took me about 10 minutes before I finally heard a soft click. The door opened, I held my breath, and edged out step by step. The living room was pitch black. I felt along the wall toward the front door. My heart pounded so hard, it felt ready to leap into my throat. The floorboards occasionally gave a faint creak. Every time that happened, I stopped and listened. After confirming no one had woken up, I kept moving forward. Just as my hand was about to reach the front door handle, the lights came on. My whole body froze. My father stood at the hallway entrance, holding a wooden stick in his hand. His face was dark with rage. He had clearly been waiting for me to try to run. I did not explain. I turned and ran back immediately, but it was already too late. He rushed over in just a few long strides. My mother and Lin Xiao had come out at some point too, standing off to the side and watching. Not one of them said a word to stop him. My father finally stopped when he got tired. Panting heavily, "I am telling you, do not think you can ever run out of this house in your life, unless you agree to repeat the year." I lay on the floor, my whole body trembling, not because I was afraid, but because I was furious. 18 years of restraint nearly burst through my chest in that moment. But I held it back. It was not time yet. My evidence was still not enough. My backup plan was not fully in place. I was dragged back to my room and thrown onto the bed. The door was locked shut again, and this time another lock was added. It was the kind hung from the outside, impossible to pry open by hand. I lay on the bed. My back burned with pain. That pain only made my mind even clearer. For the next 2 days, I behaved obediently. I stopped trying to escape. I ate when I was given food and slept when it was time to sleep. On the surface, I looked like I had accepted my fate. My parents thought they had beat me into submission. They relaxed their watch over me slightly. But the door remained locked. I still could not get out. I used those 2 days to carefully observe their routines, memorizing when each person went to sleep. And when they woke up, I stored every detail carefully in my mind, waiting for the best opportunity. On the 4th night, they finally made their move. At 2:07 in the morning, I heard the lock make a faint sound. It was not the cautious kind of testing noise. Someone was actually unlocking it. I kept my eyes closed. My breathing stayed steady. I pretended to be asleep, but every nerve in my body was pulled tight. The door was pushed open. The footsteps were very light, as if they were afraid of waking me. There were 2 people, judging by the rhythm of their breathing. One was my mother, and the other was my father. They felt their way over to my desk and began searching through my things. I kept my sleeping posture, though my heartbeat sped up on its own. I knew exactly what they were looking for: my ID card and my admission notice. Those 2 things were the keys that would let me leave this hell, and also the bargaining chips they needed to trap me. The searching continued for several minutes. I heard my mother whisper, "I cannot find it. Where do you think he hid it?" "Keep looking. It has to be in this room. He could not have taken it outside." They searched every desk drawer, every shelf in my backpack. They even checked through all the pockets of my clothes. I felt someone come and stand beside the bed for a moment. They were probably debating whether to search my pillow. "Did you find it?" "SHH, do not wake him." Lin Xiaoxiao walked in impatiently, her footsteps much louder than my parents'. Clearly, she did not care at all whether I woke up. I felt her stop beside my bed, looking me over with scrutinizing eyes. That gaze was cold and venomous, and I could almost feel her breath falling across my face. Then her voice sounded cold and certain. "Why pretend? I know you are awake." Lin Xiaoxiao did not keep pushing the point. Instead, she joined the search on her own. Her movements were far rougher than my parents'. Books were flung off the shelf one after another. Entire drawers were yanked out. I had hidden my ID card inside a secret layer of the pillowcase, while the admission notice had been folded into a tiny piece and sewn into the lining of my suitcase. I had thought they would not find them, but I underestimated how far Lin Xiaoxiao would go. She ripped my pillow away in one motion and started feeling along it, inch by inch. The way she searched looked like a contraband inspection. She would not let a single corner go unchecked. When her hand reached that hidden layer, it stopped. Then she let out an excited cry. Found it, my heart tightened. But I still did not move. Next, she pounced on my suitcase, dumped everything inside onto the floor, and began tearing at the lining. The sound of fabric ripping was painfully harsh. Her fingernails scraped back and forth across the inner layer, until she finally touched something stiff. I could no longer hold back. I shot upright and reached out to press the bedside light switch. Lin Xiaoxiao stood beside the suitcase, clutching an envelope in her hand. It was the envelope holding my admission notice. The expression on her face was like she had found treasure. Greedy and excited, I stared at them. My voice was ice cold. I asked what exactly they were doing in the middle of the night. The 3 of them exchanged a glance. At that point, they stopped pretending. My father slapped the ID card in his hand onto the table and spoke with complete self-righteousness. "We will not beat around the bush with you anymore. Xiaoxiao already told us everything. As long as you are there, she can score highly. This is the bond between you 2 siblings. You should just accept it." Xiaoshan listened to Mom. "Repeating 1 year will not hurt you. You are so smart. You will definitely get in again next year. By then, Xiaoxiao will also have a future in school. and our family will produce 2 students at famous universities. Is that not a win-win? I already said, I am not doing it. I got up and tried to take back my ID card, but my father shoved me aside in one motion. I stumbled 2 steps and hit the wall. The injury on my back flared with pain. My father leaned his face closer, his tone dark with threat. Do you think you have the right to choose? Do not even think about going anywhere. Without an ID card and without an admission notice, you cannot go to a top university. You can only stay at home obediently and repeat senior year. After you finish the exam next year, you can still go to your top university as planned. No one is really delaying you at all. I took a deep breath and forced the surging anger back down. Now was not the time to tear everything open. I needed more evidence. I asked them, so tonight, you came to confiscate my things. My mother gave a cold laugh. She no longer bothered to hide anything. What do you mean, confiscate? Everything in this home is managed by your parents in the first place. You are still a child. Something as important as an ID card is safest with us. What is wrong with that? I looked toward Lin Tian. She was pulling my admission notice out of the envelope, her face glowing with vindictive satisfaction. She held up that notice, as if raising a trophy. Then she did something I would never forget for the rest of my life. She gripped that admission notice, wild hatred burning in her eyes, and right in front of me, slowly tore it in half with force. Rip! The sound was crisp and piercing, like something inside me snapping. She was still not satisfied. She kept tearing the 2 halves apart until they became a pile of scraps, falling to the floor like snowflakes. She moved very slowly. That notice was the starting point of my new life, and she shredded it just like that. Lin Tian watched my expression and laughed like she had completely lost control. The admission notice is gone. Let us see how you report to school now. From now on, for the rest of your life, you can only be my stepping stone. I want you trapped in the mud with me. Her whole body was trembling. With her hair wild and loose, she looked completely unhinged. Why are you better than me? Why does everyone praise you? Why do you get to go to a top university, while I can only stay home and be laughed at? All that hard work of yours should have been mine. Tears were already flowing from her eyes, but they were not tears of grievance. They were unwillingness to accept defeat, jealousy, and frenzy. But at that moment, her voice suddenly lowered, as if she were talking to herself, or perhaps speaking to me. Do you know how afraid I have been? Ever since I was little, I knew my grades were fake. They were stolen from you. She spoke with a twisted expression. Before every exam, she had been terrified. Afraid that one day I would stop taking tests, or that one day I would mess up. Afraid everyone would discover that she was actually useless. Through tears, she said she hated me. Hated that I was smarter than her. The laughable part was that she somehow believed I did nothing, and still scored that high. I hate myself even more. Without you, I am nothing. So you cannot leave. You must stay. You must be my stepping stone forever. Only then can I keep going. I looked at her, looked at the person I had called my sister for 18 years, and for the first time, I found her pitiful. But pity was not a reason to forgive her. Being pitiful was also no excuse for ruining my life. My father and mother stood off to the side, watching Lin Tian's crazed state. Not one of them stepped in to stop her. There was even a trace of approval on their faces, as though she had done something deeply satisfying. Looking at that scene, I suddenly found it absurd and painfully sad. These were my family members. This was the so-called bond of blood. I lowered my head and looked at the scraps on the floor. My shoulders began to tremble. They thought I was crying. They thought I had broken down. My mother sneered, her tone full of condescending charity. Enough. What are you crying for? It is not even that serious. Just take the exam again next year. Treat this as a lesson. Be more obedient from now on. I said nothing. I only crouched down and used trembling hands to pick up the scraps. Lin Xiao looked at my miserable state, and her smile became even more unrestrained. Cry. Go on, cry more. You deserve it. This is your fate. I lifted my head and looked at her. She froze because there were no tears in my eyes. Only icy hatred. And a fleeting smile. That smile frightened her. She instinctively took a step back and asked what I was smiling at. I slowly stood up. My voice was hoarse yet unnervingly calm. Nothing. I was just thinking that your performance just now was impressive. If things do not work out for you later, you could become an actress. I did not say anything more. Instead, I pretended to collapse hopelessly by the bed, my eyes empty, muttering to myself, seeing me like that. The wariness on Lin Xiao's face gradually faded, replaced by the pride of a victor. Now you know fear. Where was that earlier? My father gave a cold snort and stuffed my ID card into his own pocket. That is enough. Everyone go back to sleep. Starting today, this brat is not going anywhere. The three of them left my room, as if they had completed some task. Before leaving, my mother locked the door from the outside again. The sound of the lock falling into place was very soft, yet it struck my heart like thunder. I had been shut in. Darkness settled over the room once more. I sat beside the bed, listening to their footsteps fade away, listening as the whole apartment returned to silence. Then I stood up and walked over to the bookshelf. From the pile of clutter, I felt around and pulled out the backup phone that had been recording the entire time. They had not expected that after rummaging through the whole room, they would forget to check the pile of junk they dismissed as trash. The recording had captured everything. Lin Xiao's frenzy as she tore up the admission notice, my parents standing by coldly, even urging things along with their expressions and words. The conspiracy they admitted with their own mouths was all in that video. I uploaded the video to the cloud and made several backups, making sure nothing could go wrong. Then I edited a shorter version and posted it online. The caption read, "This is the family I have been trying to escape." After posting it, I called the police. I want to report a crime. My family is unlawfully confining me. When the dispatcher asked for my address and basic details, I answered one by one. They said officers would be sent and told me to wait. After making the report, I switched the phone to silent mode, hid it back in the clutter, and lay down on the bed again. My heart was pounding fast, but on the surface, I had to stay calm. I did not know how long the police would take to arrive, and I did not know what might happen before then. But I knew that as long as I got through tonight, everything would be different. Time passed second by second. The sky outside the window began to pale. My eyes stayed open, fixed on the ceiling, while my ears caught every faint sound in the apartment. At 4:23, I heard footsteps. They belonged to Lin Xiao. Her steps were very light, as if she were afraid of waking anyone. Yet in the deep quiet of the night, they were still clearly audible. She stopped outside my bedroom door. I held my breath and stayed completely still. The lock clicked. She came in again. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. She walked to my bedside and stood there for a while. I could feel her gaze resting on me, with scrutiny and suspicion. Then she started wandering around the room. Her footsteps moved near and far, like a beast, patrolling its territory. I did not know what she was looking for, but I had a bad feeling. The footsteps stopped in front of the bookshelf. My heart clenched suddenly. The sound of rummaging began. She was digging through that pile of clutter. My fingers quietly tightened around the corner of the blanket. My mind raced, calculating what I should do. If she found the phone, suddenly the searching stopped. The air froze. I could almost hear my own heartbeat pounding. What is this? I knew she had found it. It was over. I snapped my eyes open and sat up, just in time to see her holding the backup phone in her hand. The red recording dot was still glowing on the screen. Her expression shifted from confusion to shock, then into something vicious. She screamed and lunged at me, like a wild beast out of control. I had no time to dodge. Her fingernails raked across my face. Burning painfully, I grabbed her wrist at once, and the two of us struggled together. She was a girl, but at that moment, she seemed completely out of control. Her strength was shocking. We knocked over the bedside table. The lamp crashed to the floor, shattering everywhere. The noise was too loud. My parents woke up quickly. My father rushed in and saw the scene. Without a word, he shoved me aside. "You dare hit your sister?" Covering my head, I panted and said, "I did not hit her. She started it first." Lin Xiao had already climbed up from the floor, still gripping that phone tightly. She ran behind my father, as if she had found someone to shelter behind. He was secretly recording. He recorded all of us. My father's face changed instantly. He snatched the phone away, lowered his head to look at the screen, and his expression grew uglier and uglier. The veins on his forehead bulged. "Lin Tian, you are really something." He smashed the phone hard onto the floor. The screen shattered. Then he stomped on it several times, until the phone was completely reduced to scrap. I looked at the crushed phone, yet I did not panic at all, because the video had already been uploaded to the cloud. That phone was only an empty shell now. But I did not let it show. Instead, I wore a look of despair, as if my last lifeline had just been ripped away. My mother rushed over too. After seeing what had happened, her face turned dark. "I am telling you, Lin Tian, this is not over. You stay right here obediently. Do not even think about going anywhere. If you dare post anything online, you will bear the consequences." She stormed out while scolding, and before leaving, she told my mother to keep a close eye on me. "Ocean, you have disappointed Mom so much. Everything we did was for this family. Why can you not understand that? Enough, think carefully about what you have done." Then she left too. The door was locked from the outside again. This time they even moved something to block it. I heard the sound of a chair scraping across the floor. I was left alone in the room. Surrounded by chaos, I leaned against the corner of the wall and touched my swollen cheek, thinking they had no idea the police were already on the way. They also had no idea the video had already been posted online. They thought destroying one phone solved everything. They had no idea the real storm had only just begun. Time kept passing. The sky grew brighter and brighter. Around 6 o'clock, I heard my father's phone ring. Then came his panicked voice. "What video? Who posted it?" Then my mother's shrill scream followed, along with Lin Xiao's crying. The whole apartment descended into chaos. I knew the video had blown up. I do not know how much time passed. Maybe half an hour. Maybe an hour. Then I heard someone knocking on the front door. The knocking was loud, urgent, and mixed with shouted commands. "Open the door," someone reported an incident. "Who called them?" "Old Lin. What do we do?" "Do not panic. Hide that brat. Just say he is not home." I listened from inside my room. "Hide me." Where exactly were they planning to hide me? "People inside, listen carefully. Open the door immediately, or we will take compulsory measures." My father finally could not hold out anymore. I heard the front door open, followed by a burst of noisy conversation. I could not make out every word, but I could tell my father was arguing desperately, trying to smooth everything over. A few minutes later, the obstruction outside my bedroom door was moved away. The door opened. 2 uniformed police officers stood at the entrance. At their first sight of me, their brows knitted together. One of the younger officers walked over. "Are you Lin Tian, the person who exposed this?" I nodded. He looked at the injuries on my face and the swelling at the corner of my mouth, then at the chaos inside the room. His expression became serious. You are injured too. Who did this? Officer, this is a family matter. What is wrong with disciplining my own son? The older officer turned back and looked at him. A family matter. Unlawful confinement. Restriction of personal freedom. That is also a family matter. We received a report that someone was being locked inside their home by family members. And we also received a video. Take a look yourself. Can this really be called a family matter? The footage showed my parents and Lin Xiao searching through my belongings, and Lin Xiao tearing up my admission notice in a frenzy. My father's face instantly turned pale. My mother's legs went weak, and she nearly collapsed onto the floor. Lin Xiao hid in the corner, her hair messy, her eyes hollow, like an insect crushed flat. Lin Tian, we need you to come with us and give a statement. I nodded, then stood up. I stepped across the scraps scattered over the floor and walked out. As I passed my father, he suddenly reached out as if to stop me, but the police officer pushed his hand away at once. You are now suspected of unlawful confinement and intentional injury. Behave yourself. The look on his face was as if he had swallowed a fly. Furious, terrified, and completely helpless. I did not look at him. I walked straight through that door. Behind me came my mother's wailing voice. You cannot treat us this way. We are your parents. If you do this, how are we supposed to face people from now on? I stopped walking. You stopped treating me like a person long ago. Now it is your turn to taste that feeling. Lin Tian, you will regret this. I will not let you get away with this. Let go of me. I looked at her twisted face and said calmly, Lin Xiao, remember this. From today on, we are done with each other completely. Then I turned and got into the police car. I never looked back again. By the time I finished giving my statement at the station, it was already noon. Based on the video evidence and your injuries, your father is suspected of intentional injury and unlawful confinement. He will be handled according to the law. As for Lin Xiao, she damaged another person's property. Although the admission notice was issued by the school, it was still my personal belonging. She will also bear the corresponding legal responsibility. Then what about my admission notice? Can it be reissued? The officer said I would need to contact the school and ask. They would help me provide the relevant documentation. I nodded. When I walked out of the police station, the sunlight was dazzling. I stood on the steps, squinting up at the sky. It felt as if I had just lived through a very long nightmare. Now I was finally awake.